Once upon a time, there was an old man named George and an old woman named Mary. They had 3 sons, 2 older sons who were considered clever, and the youngest, whom everyone called a simpleton. The old woman loved her older sons. She dressed them cleanly and fed them well. But the younger one wore a holey shirt and chewed a stale crust of bread. He, a simpleton, doesn't care. He doesn't know anything, doesn't understand anything, said his mother. One day the news reached their town. Whoever builds the president such a ship that he can sail the seas and fly under the clouds, the president will marry his daughter. The older brothers decided to try their luck. Let us go, Daddy and Mommy. Maybe one of us will become the president's son-in-law. The mother packed up her elder sons, baked them white pies for the road, roasted chicken and goose. Go, sons. The brothers went to the forest and began to chop and saw trees. They cut and sawed a lot, but they didn't know what to do next. They began to argue and fight. They were about to claw each other's hair. An old man came up to them and asked, "What are you young men arguing and fighting about? May I have a word for your benefit?" The 2 brothers attacked the old man. They would not listen to him, cursed him with bad words and drove him away. The old man left. The brothers argued some more, ate all their supplies that their mother had given them, and returned home with nothing. When they arrived, the youngest son began to beg. "Let me go now." Mother and father began to dissuade him and hold him back. "Where are you going, you simpleton? Wolves will eat you on the way." But he kept saying, "If you let me go, I'll go, and if you don't let me go, I'll go." His mother and father saw that they couldn't help him. They gave him a piece of dry black bread for the road and sent him out of the house. The simpleton took an axe with him and went into the forest. He walked and walked through the forest and saw a tall pine tree with its top resting in the clouds, which could be embraced only by 3 people. He cut down the pine tree and began to clean it from its limbs. An old man came up to him. "Hello, boy," he said. "Hello, Grandpa." "What are you doing? Why did you cut down such a big tree?" "Grandpa, the president promised to marry his daughter to the one who would build him a flying ship, so I'm building it." "But how can you build such a ship? It's a tricky business. I don't think you can." "Wise is not wise, but I must try, and I'll make it. By the way, you've come too. Old men are experienced and knowledgeable. Maybe you can give me some advice." The old man says, "Well, if you ask me to give you advice, listen. Take your axe and trim this pine tree from the sides, like this." And he showed how to trim it. The simpleton listened to the old man and trimmed the pine as he had shown him. As he trimmed it, he marveled. The axe went like this. It went like this. "Now," says the old man, "work the pine tree from the ends, like this and like that." The simpleton does not let the old man's words pass his ears. As the old man shows him, so he does. When he finished his work, the old man praised him and said, "Well, now it's not a bad idea to take a break and have a little snack." "Hey, grandfather," says the simpleton, "there is food for me, this stale crust. What can I treat you to? I bet you won't even bite into my treat." "Come on, boy," said Picahis Alfo, says the old man. "Give me your crust." The simpleton gave him a piece. The old man took it in his hands, examined it, felt it, and said, "Your crust is not so stale." And he gave it to the simpleton. When he took it, he could not believe his eyes. It had turned into a soft and white loaf. As they ate, the old man said, "Well, now we'll start setting the sails." And he took out a piece of cloth from behind his back. The old man shows. The simpleton tries to do his best, and the sails are ready, adjusted. "Now get into your ship," says the old man, "and fly wherever you need to go. But remember my instruction. On the way, put everyone you meet into your ship." So they said goodbye. The old man went his way, and the simpleton got on the flying ship and spread his sails. The sails inflated. The ship soared into the sky, flew faster than a falcon. He flew a little lower than the walking clouds, a little higher than the standing forests. As he flew, he saw a man lying on the road with his ear to the ground. He descended and said, "Hello, uncle. Hello, boy. What are you doing?" "I'm listening to what's going on at the other end of the earth." "And what's going on there, uncle?" "The birds are singing, 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 one after another." "What a fine ear you have. Come to my ship, and we'll fly together." The listener did not refuse, got on the ship, and they flew on. As they were flying, they saw a man walking along the road, walking on one leg with the other leg tied to his ear. "Hello, uncle." "Hello, boy. Why are you walking on one leg?" "If I untie the other leg, I can walk around the world in 3 steps. You're so fast. Come sit with us." The scoracod did not refuse, climbed on the ship, and they flew on. Whether they flew a long way or a short way, they saw a man standing there with a gun, aiming. But I don't know what he's aiming at. "Hello, uncle. What are you aiming at? I can't see a beast or a bird around." "What a bunch of you. I'm not going to shoot close. I'm aiming at a grouse that sits in a tree 1,000 miles away. That's the kind of shooting I'm after." "Sit down with us. We'll fly together." The sniper sat down, and they all flew on. As they were flying, they saw a man walking along carrying a big sack of bread behind his back. "Hello, uncle. Where are you going?" "I'm going to get bread for my lunch." "What do you need more bread for?" "You've got a sack full of bread." "What's there?" "This bread is for me to put in my mouth and swallow. And to get enough to eat, I need 100 times that much. Look at you. Come and join us in our ship. We'll fly together." Obeidallah got on the ship, and they flew on. They flew over forests, over fields, over rivers, over towns and villages. Look, a man is walking near a large lake, shaking his head. "Hello, uncle. What are you looking for?" "I'm thirsty, so I'm looking for a place to get drunk. There's a whole lake in front of you. Drink to your heart's content. I'll only need 1 sip of this water." The simpleton was surprised. His companions were surprised and said, "Well, don't worry. There's water for you. Get on a ship with us. We will fly far away, and there will be plenty of water for you." Obeidallah got into the ship, and they flew on. It is unknown how long they flew, but they saw a man walking in the forest with a bundle of brushwood over his shoulders. "Hello, uncle. Tell us, why are you carrying brushwood into the forest?" "It's not just brushwood. If you scatter it, a whole army will appear." "Sit down, uncle, with us." And this one sat down with them. They flew on. As they were flying, they saw an old man coming, carrying a sack of straw. "Hello, Grandpa. Where are you taking the straw?" "To the city." "Isn't there not enough straw in town?" "There's plenty of straw, but none like this." "What kind of straw do you have?" "If I scatter it in the hot summer, it will become cold in no time. Snow will fall, frost will crackle." "If so, it's true, you won't find such straw in town. Come sit with us." Kolodilo climbed into the ship with his sack, and they flew on. They flew on and arrived at the presidential palace. The president was having dinner. He saw the flying ship and sent his servants. "Go and ask, who are the foreign princes and kings on that ship?" The servants ran to the ship and saw ordinary people sitting on the ship. The servants did not ask them who they were and where they had come from. They came back and reported to the president. So and so. There is not a single prince on the ship, not a single king, but all ordinary people. What should we do with them? It's shameful to marry off our daughter to a common man, thinks the president. We must get rid of such suitors. He asked his advisors, "What should we do now? What should we do?" They gave him a suggestion. We should ask the groom various difficult tasks, and maybe he will not solve them. Then we'll show him a turn from the gate. The president was happy and sent servants to the simpleton with such an order. Let the groom get us. Until our dinner is over, live and dead water. The simpleton thought, what am I going to do now? I won't find such water for a year or even for my whole life. And what do you want me to do? Said Skorokod. I'll do it for you in no time. He untied his foot from his ear and ran to the kingdom of the 30 kingdom. He took 2 jugs of living and dead water and thought to himself, there is a lot of time left. Let me sit for a while. I'll be back in time. He sat down under a dense oak tree and dozed off. The president's dinner was coming to an end, but Skorokod was gone. Everyone on the flying ship is sad. They don't know what to do. And Slukash put his ear to the ground, listened, and said, he's so sleepy and drowsy, sleeping under a tree, snoring away. I'll wake him up, says the sniper. He grabbed his gun, took aim and shot at the oak under which Skorokod was sleeping. Acorns fell from the oak tree, right on Skorokod's head. Skorokod woke up. Oh my goodness, I must have fallen asleep. He jumped up and at the same moment brought jugs of water. Take this. The president got up from the table, looked at the jugs and said, maybe this water isn't real. They caught a rooster, ripped off its head and sprayed it with dead water. The head grew back in no time. The rooster jumped to its feet, flapped its wings and cried, cuckoo. The president was disappointed. Well, he says to the simpleton, you have accomplished my task. Now I'll give you another one. If you are so clever, eat 12 roasted bulls and as much bread as 40 ovens, bake in one sitting with your friends. The simpleton was saddened and said to his companions, I won't even eat one bread all day long. And what am I for, says the Obadala. I'll manage both the bulls and the bread alone. It won't be enough. The simpleton told him to tell the president, bring the bulls and the bread. Let's eat. They brought 12 roasted bulls and as much bread as 40 ovens baked. The rabble began to eat the bulls one by one, and she put loaves after loaves in her mouth. All the wagons are empty. Let's have more, shouts Obadala. Why did you save so little? I'm just getting a taste for it. And the president has no more oxen or bread. Now, he says, you have a new order, that you must drink 40 barrels of beer at once, each barrel 40 buckets. I can't even drink 1 bucket, says the simpleton to his friends. What a misfortune, replies Opiwala. I'll drink all their beer alone. It won't be enough. 40 barrels and 40 buckets were brought in. They started scooping beer in buckets and giving it to Opiwala. He takes a sip, and the bucket is empty. Why are you serving me with buckets? Says Opiwala. That way we'll be rolling all day long. He picked up a barrel and emptied it at once, without a break. He lifted another barrel, and the empty one rolled away. So he drained all 40 barrels. Do you have any more beer? He asked. Any more beer? I didn't drink enough. I didn't get my throat wet. The president sees that nothing can take the simpleton. He decides to destroy him with cunning. All right, he says, I'll marry you off to my daughter. Get ready for the wedding. But before the wedding, go to the bathhouse and wash yourself well." And he ordered to heat the bathhouse. And the bathhouse was all iron. They stoked the bathhouse for 3 days. It was red hot. It's burning hot. You can't get within 5 meters of it. "How will I wash myself, son?" says the simpleton. "I'll burn alive." "Don't be sad," answers Kolodilo. "I'll go with you." He ran to the president and asked, "Will you let me go to the bathhouse with my fiancé? I'll make a straw for him so that he doesn't get his feet dirty." The president, what? He allowed it. If one burns, both burn. They took the simpleton and Kolodilo to the bathhouse and locked him in there. And Kolodilo scattered straw in the bathhouse, and it got cold. The walls turned frosty. The water froze in the boilers. Some time passed. The servants opened the door. The simpleton was alive and well, and so was the old man. "Oh, you," says the simpleton, "I can't steam in your bathhouse, but I can't go sledding." The servants ran to the president. They reported so, and so. The president was frantic, not knowing what to do, how to get rid of the simpleton. He thought about it and ordered him. "Put a whole regiment of soldiers in front of my palace in the morning. If you do, I'll marry your daughter to you. If you don't, I'll send you away." But he was thinking, how can a simple guy get an army? He won't be able to do that. That's when we'll throw him out. The simpleton hears the president's order and tells his friends, "You saved me, brothers, from trouble more than once and more than twice. And now what are we going to do?" "You found something to be sad about," says the old man with the brushwood. "I'll send out 7 regiments with generals. Go to the president and tell him he'll get an army." The simpleton went to the president. "I'll fulfill your order," he says, "only one last time. And if you refuse, you're on your own." Early in the morning, the old man called the simpleton and went out into the field with him. He scattered the bundle, and an untold army appeared, both on foot and on horseback and with cannons. Trumpeters were blowing trumpets. Drummers were beating drums. Generals were giving commands. Horses were beating the ground with their hooves. The simpleton was leading the army to the presidential palace. He stopped in front of the palace, ordered to trumpet louder and beat drums harder. The president heard, looked out of the window, and turned white with fright. He ordered his generals to bring out his army, to go to war against the simpleton. The generals brought out the president's army and started shooting at the simpleton. But the soldiers of the simpleton are marching in a wall, crushing the president's army like grass. The generals were frightened and ran back, followed by the entire presidential army. The president came out of the palace, crawling on his knees in front of the simpleton, asking him to accept expensive gifts and to marry his daughter as soon as possible. The simpleton says to the president, "Now you're not our boss. We have our own mind." He sent the president away and told him never to return to that kingdom, and he married the president's daughter. "Your daughter is a young and kind girl. She has no guilt." And he began to live in that kingdom, to do all sorts of things.